Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our look at Germany in the 1920s and 30s. And we are continuing on the train of events for the Weimar Republic. So remember the Weimar Republic, government of Germany after the Kaiser, before Hitler. And bless them, they've been having a terrible time of it. And it's not over yet, because we are going to be looking this lesson at the Kapp Putsch of 1920. So a putsch is the German word for uprising. So a revolt, someone trying to take over the government. So the Kapp uprising or the Kapp Putsch of 1920. So by the end of the lesson, you know how to explain the events, what happened, who Kapp was, who was involved, and also the significance of it for the Weimar Republic. So what do we already know? Pause the video, answer the question. Weimar Republic, they've been struggling. What have they been facing so far? Okay, so the kind of things we might be saying there, Treaty of Versailles, they have to sign it because they know they're not in a position to keep fighting the war. But the German people don't realize that. So they just think that the Weimar Republic's betrayed the army. The army could have won World War One, but the Weimar Republic stabbed them in the back. You could have also talked about the feeling of being anti-democracy, that they weren't used, the German people, to being in a democracy. There were lots of people who thought democracy wouldn't work. And then finally, last lesson, we were looking at the Spartakists, so that communist uprising that tried to overthrow the government. So the Weimar Republic have been going through it. And if you remember also from last lesson, is this map of just all of the different troubles that were happening. So far more than we can go over in the Nazi course, and neither exam board expects you to know all of these. So we're just going to do Spartacus and Kapp for the moment. But we can just see there all the things we don't have time to cover, all of those uprisings, workers going on strike, people being murdered, politicians being murdered. So the Kapp Putsch or the Kapp uprising is yet another one for the Weimar. Luckily for the Weimar Republic, it's going to fail. So we're in March 1920 in Germany. We've got a new word up there, a failed coup. So a coup is another word for uprising or revolt when you try to get rid of the government. And that's the sort of tricky bit of this course. There seems to be 100 different words for uprising or trying to overthrow the government. So putsch, revolt, uprising, coup, all just mean trying to get rid of the Weimar Republic. Okay, so causes of the putsch. And the big one is going back to that Treaty of Versailles. So, if we remember the causes or the contents of the Treaty of Versailles with Lamb. So, we remember what the Treaty of Versailles says with Lamb. Again, pause the video, just see if you can write down what each of those letters stands for. Okay, so L is for land, so all the territory that they lost. A is for army, so 100,000 men, no air force, no submarines. M is for money, 6.6 billion that Germany had to pay. And then finally, the last one, and the one that was really difficult to swallow, is blame. That Germany had to take 100% of the blame with its allies for starting World War One. Really unfair. So if we focus in on A, the A is for the armed forces. So the army, 100,000 men, they're limited with their navy, they're not allowed to go into the area bordering France, the Rhineland. So who this really annoys, not surprisingly, is the army. So the German army, they're called the Reichswehr. The Reichswehr or the German army are like really hate this. It's outrageous. They've got to go to 100,000 men. It makes them really vulnerable. They are not happy. So they turn on the Weimar Republic, and that is going to be the cause of the Kapp Putsch. So the important people, we've got these two. At the top, we've got Wolfgang Kapp, who is a politician. He gives his name to the uprising, so it's called the Kapp Putsch after him. And down the bottom is his co-conspirator, General Lutzwitz. Now, Lutzwitz is obviously a general. He's in the army. So he's fought in World War One. He was a leader in World War One. He's heard about the Treaty of Versailles. He's really angry about it. He's furious at what it's done to the army. And what both these men want is they want the Kaiser back. They want to get rid of the Weimar Republic, bring back the Kaiser, have it like the good old days, is where they're going. So the plan is they're going to overthrow the government. Kapp's going to rule Germany temporarily whilst they call for the Kaiser, who's abroad, he's gone into exile. They're going to call for the Kaiser to come back to Germany and have an emperor again. That's what these two men want. So, in March 1920, the government orders the disbandment or the getting rid of the Free Corps. Now, if you remember them from the Spartacist uprising, the Free Corps are the ex-soldiers. They fought in World War One. They fought for their country. Because of the Treaty of Versailles, you're only allowed 100,000 men. They've been kicked out of the army. And they've come back to Germany with their weapons. And in the Spartacist uprising, Ebert and the Weimar Republic call on them to help them out. And if you remember the Free Corps, they're very anti-communist. They are very happy to help out, and they put down the Spartacist putsch. Having done that, the government's like, oh, thanks for that. That was great. Go home now. So the government orders the Free Corps to go. That really riles up Kapp, the army, the Free Corps. So Kapp and his followers march into Berlin, they take control of key buildings, and they declare a new government. So Kapp and the Free Corps, remember there's up to about 1.5 million of them. So Kapp and his followers marching into Berlin, you can't treat the Free Corps like that, you can't treat the Reichswehr like that. And they do really well in the first days. They take control of the key buildings. There's a new government led by Kapp. They're going to ask the Kaiser to come back. So Ebert and the Weimar Republic go running to the army, who refuse to help. And there's a lovely saying that they sent back, Reichswehr, so Reichswehr is the army, Reichswehr doesn't fire on Reichswehr. So the army is like, absolutely not. Free Corps are one of us. They fought with us in World War One. You've got rid of them. We're not helping you out. So they're in a really horrible position now, the Weimar Republic. Things are looking really bad for them. And in fact, they end up having to flee Berlin. So they go to Dresden, which is another German city. This looks like it could be the end of the Weimar Republic. But then Ebert does something that is super clever and super sneaky and is going to save the day for him. So he calls out to the workers of Berlin and he says, go on strike. So we can't fight back with guns or the army, but what we can do is just go on strike. So loads of people in Berlin do this. They don't go to work. It disrupts businesses, public services like trams, things like that. And the whole city of Berlin just grinds to a halt. So demonstrates the power of the ordinary people, but also demonstrates how unpopular the Kaiser is. That the thought of having the Kaiser back causes so many people in Berlin to stand up. So whole of Berlin gets disrupted. General strike does for the Kapp Putsch. Kapp leads Berlin, just that place, 4 days. He ends up fleeing. He gets captured and he is going to end up in prison. So Ebert potentially was going to lose everything, has this brilliant idea about getting the workers involved. If the workers hadn't have gone for it, that would have been the end of the Weimar Republic. So they are incredibly lucky. But the general strike 4 days, Kapp Putsch leaders realise this isn't going anywhere, it's not going to work, and they make a run for it. So it's seen as a key event because it revealed how weak democracy was at this time. And if you remember, after the Spartacist uprising, we were saying great for the Weimar Republic, but they were completely reliant on the Free Corps. And now this time we saw what happened if the Free Corps are the ones revolting, having the uprising. So it does show that they are vulnerable. And that's going to lead to further attempts to overthrow the government, such as the Munich Putsch, which I'm not going to do next lesson. We're going to wait until we look at Hitler to do the Munich Putsch. But next lesson, we will keep going. Sadly, this is not the end of the misery for the Weimar Republic.